My multimedia and sport arts. If you notice, every work of art takes a lot more time and effort to create than it takes to get impressed from it, and that creates pleasure because that condenses amounts of time, effort and thought from love into a ready product that opens before us a new creation in a short time and at once without us creating it. Yet the best creations are the ones that with time our impression from them lasts a lot longer than it took the creator to create it. It means we are in or recognizing the divinity in the creation, being something superhuman, talking to us beyond the limitations of time and space, regardless of generational changes. About that, realize that every new good thing that a person creates in the senses of perception of those that enjoy from it, it is conceived as an expression of God's desire to do good to his creations through an medium which is a person that invented an invention or an artwork of some kind. Meaning God is speaking to us sometimes through special particular people who let the divine ray of light burst through them and do good actions which are a reflection of God's desire. That is how when a person is in equality of form to the divine will he does the work of God.
Time, and you can do in terms of cardio, power, and speed. In wrestling, we use a punching bag as well for takedown practice. The preceding exercises to 1SSRW, TKD, and body boxing are defense and reflex hand-in-hand training plus number 1 attacks, number 2 defense, practicing side takedown variations, plus number 1 drops, number 2 falls, and number 1 tries to drop, number 2 tries not to get dropped. There are also the standard Olympic TKD shields for free fights, with or without kicks to the face, for your choosing. In practice, the partners goes through all the hits on different glove pillows that train all the elements of physical fitness, both the attacker and the resistance strength of the holder. Alone, there are many types of practice and combinations back and forth in the open field, like a Tai Chi practice, in whichever power, speed, frequency, and motions that you want for the beauty and the personal gain in free movement. You can also add to that the same training with hand or foot weights. Some training outside, on the grass, in the park, asphalt, concrete, and some in a hall with mattresses in different variations. Because humanity will not give up fights and competitions, I will explain my version. The fullness of your martial arts potential is expressed with shoes. All sports shoes are clumsy, heavy, unprofessional, and too painful. Besides, taekwondo step shoes that are light, wrapping your foot, very well comfortable, and enable performance, as you can ask all the Korean demonstrators. Even with them without a body protector, every fight would end in severe internal injuries, because of the power it adds to the kicks, which is much more than the endurance power of most people, besides such who let cars run over their stomach and get hit by logs of wood and don't feel a thing. But those people are only 2 to 3 per 1 billion. To combine these two elements in martial arts with safety, you need a body protector. Only not the metal ones with the hard plate, because it is uncomfortable to move in. Rather the previous model. Also because floor grappling is unrealistic in a real fight, because any trained martial artist would have given a lethal finger-clawing hit beyond repair into the eyes or the groin or the throat to anybody trying to grapple him on the ground before even getting to the ground, most chances are. Therefore, I consider training much more realistic scenarios of fast multiple hits knockouts with lethal injuries for life on the way in a real street fight. Therefore, in the competitions, in an attempt to make them more realistic, after several seconds of flour, grappling, the judge needs to separate and stand them back on their feet if nobody tapped out or surrendered. They can also try to get some hits in before, so another bonus when you have shoes is you get up from a fall much faster, and the likeliness of a takedown success is much worse and unlikely because my balance with shoes and my body control reactions, movements, and resistance are much better and stronger with shoes, which will create a much more interesting fight to the audience, because competitors will have more abilities to express their abilities and to do things, exercises, and motions they would have never dared without shoes in MMA fights. Before, because it improves the defensive and offensive power, drastically significantly. Also, the movements of the steps to avoid getting hit and entering a hit are much quicker and much more easily controlled, which will create much faster fight dynamics, more professional and interesting. In Taekwondo and martial arts, generally there are a lot of aerial kicks which are nearly impossible to use without shoes because it is inconvenient to jump and land and hit hard, endangering your feet without shoes. But with shoes they will be implemented sometimes as well, which will be remarkably spectacular. Because for modern man it is no longer natural to be barefoot, and because it limits his abilities in sports and martial arts, I recommend that TKD shoes in MMA fights. The body protector defends the wholeness of the competitors more and lets the fight last more. Now I will explain the qualification, because this is an extreme sport, which by definition is a sport, a physical activity that is supposed to improve my abilities in a fun way, with danger and high chances of injuries, and we don't want useless pain and traumas because of a human mercy, yet we still have a combative side in us, who can be allowed, not women, although some are stronger than men because we have mercy on them. To compete in such fights, have to go through a very difficult qualification. 99% plus of the most pro-am. A sportsman will fail, only as a general criteria, which is built from many individual criterions, which will determine for the safety of the person, whether he is fit for not. The criterions are, to be a proven sports master in all my kinds of sports beyond medals and diplomas, tests of fitness and sport, on the highest standards, all frequency, repetition, time, height balance, power, distance, pulse, head spin, and all the other human parameters that can be examined and compared, which these four alone can the competitions within themselves and mixed competitions, while achieving the top places in all four types of competitions of the martial arts I explain, and present as preeminent elimination factors, all to prevent injury and irreversible damage to the competitors, because only those who have all that in at least an international level can be trusted to endure such a fight, and the exact numbers and tests will be determined by the best professionals in the world, which by themselves achieved records in them. The nature of the ring will be decided in the future as well, and has to be soft yet not slippery, and hard enough to accelerate and move at will. Now. Who hasn't passed all these tests, which are designed for less than 1% of the most insanely qualified, physically indestructible pros alone, after most men will occupy in the martial arts of the New World, will not be allowed to compete in the free fight, that is, combining these four safe types of martial arts that I've mentioned, that can be separated martial arts and competitions in themselves, and mixed ones as well, for their own benefit. The rest of you should stop the bloody a habit for the mentally retarded to go out there and bleed and get knocked out one after another, and go get some education instead. If at all, then the fighters shouldn't only be judged on their ability to beat other ones. Rather go through insanely rigorous physical stamina tests of all kinds, which will make most of them fall and quit as if they've already been knocked out from exhaustion and inability to walk straight no more, which will be a testimony in itself of their level and their future outcome against real qualified fighters, so they will be eliminated by default. Reason notwithstanding the tryouts trials, and I will explain and demonstrate exactly how every style and exercise looks in my DVDs called Yenadanya's Complete Sports Guide.
The new freestyle sports Olympics. As CrossFit has proven, fitness is a complicated term consistent of many features and aspects. Human abilities in sports, and especially different fitness, body/external weight, exercises vary so much that one of them taken to their extreme form cancels a human's ability to be good at another. In which case every excellent sportsman prides in his type of sports only, while he cannot do anything else and be good at it, and so there's a disconnection and separation between people and sport types, and therefore in our examinations of true fitness nowadays we can never truly distinguish the best fitness exercises and sportsmen, because each person is best only at what he trained the most and cannot be best at another field of sport or fitness because his muscle and or memory is used only to a certain amount of routines he trained the most. Plus, a lot of the current sport and fitness types are so specific and useless that they have no integration and use for if any other type of sport. So, if we want to define what are and who is the best set of skills and sportsmen, we have to take in consideration an entirely different amount of exercise and tests, including martial arts, which even it alone varies so much that its true tests can be fitness tests of martial arts exercises, rather than a subjective fight under limiting rules without. So the same disagreement stretches on in every discipline because any expert in body weight fitness / external weight fitness / bodybuilder / weightlifter / stuntman / runner / jumper / biker / swimmer / boxer / kicker / wrestler / street fighter / parkourist / ball game player can tell all the other sports experts, you may be good at your sport, but you're not as good as me at my sport. And therefore you cannot tell me you're better than me because the question remains depending on better at what type of sport or fitness type. So to set the standard, my idea is to unify and integrate all of the above into one method of training and testing the best of the world in all that in the new sports Olympics. They will test your complete survival realistic type of sports abilities and the ability to be the best at several types of these sports simultaneously, which is a record achievement in itself, which will show not only physical abilities but adaptive abilities like park war and basic acrobatics martial arts, the ball game, and others, and all of that together will show whoever can be the best at several or more fields and tests, which will redefine human fitness abilities, just like an extreme soldier must have to be adaptable to any environment and be able to perform missions at any cost, whether it's a fight, a crime, lifting heavy objects, or running away to somewhere or else. It is just testing survival abilities at their maximum capacity, which will improve with every generation to such levels it would seem miraculous to previous generations. Every competitor gains points in every test day of every different type of ability and is given the rest of the day for recovery to be tested at another totally different field the next day, which will prove all-inclusive abilities as the holy grail of these new Olympic Games, but that respect whoever can be the best in the most fields simultaneously, as a testimony of a true master of sports, just like the ancients used to do, and is still being done in Asian monasteries today, which force people to be hard as a rock, run many miles a day, go through martial arts practice, lifting weights, heavy objects, their own body, staying still in one position, and other daily tests of practice. This idea is similar, only it is the version of the Western world, combining many freestyle types of sports together in one competition to show higher levels of mastery in mental abilities as well. The score of every athlete will be calculated relatively to his place in every competition. Therefore, the ultimate winner will be whoever has the highest places in every competition, meaning the lowest score mathematically combined. For example, if he is placed 5th in all 10 competitions, his final score is 50. If another competitor was weaker than him in some competitions and stronger than him in some other competitions, yet his final score is 40, he will be number 4 in a 10 competition total example. The exact number of events is yet to be decided. The most record-breaking futuristic examples will have to be in the top 3 winners in all competitions. Even if somebody was number 3 in all 10 competitions, he can still be the overall winner if nobody's combined total is less than 30. He can still be the all-around number 1 Olympics winner. The interesting thing is when there are 2 or 3 athletes all competing for the top 3 places in all 10 competitions every time. Adding their final score will only be like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2. For example, if there will be such people, they will surely beyond any doubt will be considered the strongest, most dangerous, the fittest, and smartest, with beast-like survival instincts, focus and concentration, stamina and physical abilities, the perfect soldier, almost superhuman relatively to regular people. The qualifications for the new Olympic Games will determine who in every country is considered the best relatively to their scores in these same tests they can do in stadiums that will be occupied for that purpose, and in new locations that will be a smaller version built to capacitate indoor parkour, martial arts, fitness, and the ball game and their branches. Every competition will be rewarded within itself as well, so that even people with one particular good skill will go home happy winning at least one contest or being among the top places in the world, considering it is already good having passed the preliminary national events. It also tests stamina and recovery abilities in many days, because every day is dedicated to only one event, and therefore every athlete competes only once a day, but still the overall exhaustion accumulates, so they have to distribute their powers correctly to win the events they know to be the best at, and although it is not fair that the last days you calm weigh at a certain level of exhaustion, but that tastes human endurance through time, as if you are in the middle of a war and have to hide, and fight and run in enemy territory many days and still remain focused. That is why this competition is the best, most accurate test of human physical talent. The first days have to start with competitions that require a lot more focus and are a lot more dangerous than simply lifting weights or running in one direction. Competitions like martial arts fights, parkour obstacle course on time, and the ball game require the most all of your mental focus and ability and therefore have to be first, before the body and the mind accumulates exhaustion, so that the next days will be tests less for the mind and more for the body. But for some people even 10 days in a row would not matter and would not decrease their
concentration, stamina, and physical abilities, the perfect soldier, almost superhuman relatively to regular people. The qualifications for the new Olympic Games will determine who in every country is considered the best relatively to their scores in these same tests they can do in stadiums that will be occupied for that purpose, and in new locations that will be a smaller version built to capacitate indoor parkour, martial arts, fitness, and the ball game, and their branches. Every competition will be rewarded within itself as well, so that even people with one particular good skill will go home happy winning at least one contest or being among the top places in the world, considering it is already good having passed the preliminary national events. It also tests stamina and recovery abilities in many days, because every day is dedicated to only one event, and therefore every athlete competes only once a day. But still the overall exhaustion accumulates, so they have to distribute their powers correctly to win the events they know to be the best at. And although it is not fair that the last days you calm weigh at a certain level of exhaustion, but that tastes human endurance through time, as if you are in the middle of a war and have to hide, and fight and run in enemy territory many days, and still remain focused. That is why this competition is the best, most accurate test of human physical talent. The first days have to start with competitions that require a lot more focus and are a lot more dangerous than simply lifting weights or running in one direction. Competitions like martial arts fights, parkour obstacle course on time, and the ball game require the most all of your mental focus and ability, and therefore have to be first, before the body and the mind accumulates exhaustion, so that the next days will be tests less for the mind and more for the body. But for some people even 10 days in a row would not matter and would not decrease their abilities in any way, if because they are doing the same, all year long, every day almost. Of course, we have to respect the 7th day for rest, because it is also scientifically proven that that is a part of the human cycle of recovery mind, spirit, and body as a natural law. But that is one of the reasons why the martial arts competitions will not be full contact to the face, because if anybody gets knocked out, they will not be able to compete at anything for the next week or more. That is why the martial arts tests are divided into 4 categories. 1. Open hand, 1-step sparring. Point touch hand-in-hand reflexes decided by slow-motion video analyzing missed head / throat shots slightly touching past opponent defense, which will indicate the same results with full-force punches. 2. No headshots TKD full body shots full gear. 3. Outdoor wrestling. Throw to the ground being a point. Full chokehold being a win. 4. Body boxing.